See, in the first part of the discussion on the Judicial Standards and Accountability Bill 2011, we have seen the context or the background under which this topic has to be discussed, and what are the objectives of the Judicial Standards and Accountability Bill, what are the detailed provisions in the bill, and then what is the criticism of the provisions of the bill. So now in the second part we will consider the recommendations made by the Parliamentary Standing Committee chaired by Jayanti Natarajan on various provisions in the bill. So before we go into the recommendations of the Parliamentary Standing Committee, I will take up three issues which were not covered in the first part. The three issues are: see, the complaints which were made to the National Judicial Oversight Committee by an ordinary citizen of this country or by the Parliament, that information cannot be asked under the Right to Information Act 2005. Under the Right to Information Act 2005, you cannot seek the information relating to the documents or records relating to the complaint against Judge of High Court and Supreme Court. And the other point which I have missed is the present Judicial Standards and Accountability Bill 2011. It will replace the Judges Inquiry Act 1968. So this bill will come in place of Judges Inquiry Act 1968. In other words, the Judges Inquiry Act 1968 will be repealed. So, and the other provision which I have missed is, so when Parliament passes a motion by 2/3 majority for the removal of a Judge of High Court and Supreme Court, the President will remove that judge. But in 1993 there is a judgment given by the Supreme Court which says that even after passing of the motion by Parliament by 2/3 majority, if the President removes the concerned judge, the judge can go on appeal before the Supreme Court under the power of the judicial review. This is another provision which we have missed. And then now let's discuss the recommendations made by the Parliamentary Standing Committee. So the first important recommendation made by the Parliamentary Standing Committee recommendation is, when I discussed about the complaints scrutiny panel. In the Supreme Court, the complaints scrutiny panel will consist of retired Chief Justice of India and 2 sitting judges of the Supreme Court. So here let us assume a situation, if there is a judge of Supreme Court who is a sitting judge, and if there is any complaint of misbehavior, incapacity against this judge, this will be scrutinized by the panel consisting of retired Chief Justice of India and 2 sitting judges of the Supreme Court who are his colleagues. So do you think that the colleagues who have sit together while giving the judgments will independently and impartially investigate the complaint? No. And if you compare the present procedure which is mentioned in the bill with the existing in-house procedure, see, if you keep the provisions of the bill apart, as of now, the existing mechanism in the in-house procedure of the Supreme Court is that investigation will be done by judges, especially with respect to High Court. For example, if there is any complaint against misbehavior and incapacity of Judge of High Court, the retired Chief Justice of that High Court and 2 sitting judges of the same High Court will do the investigation, will do the scrutiny. That means here there is a situation where the colleagues of the judge on whom the complaint is made will look into the complaint and do the scrutiny. So this may not ensure the objectivity and impartiality in the scrutiny of the complaint. So if you compare this with what is there in the in-house procedure of the Supreme Court is, here a Chief Justice of High Court belonging to another High Court and 2 Chief Justices of High Court belonging to another High Court and 1 Judge of High Court belonging to another High Court, they will do the scrutiny in the Judges Inquiry Act 1968. The procedure which is being used by the Supreme Court as of now is this one, that is the in-house procedure. That is much more objective than what is mentioned in the bill, because there the scrutiny or the investigation will be done by a committee consisting of 2 Chief Justices of High Court and 1 Judge of High Court who do not belong to the same High Court. That will ensure objectivity and impartiality. But here, in the provisions in the Judicial Standards and Accountability Bill, if there is a complaint of corruption against a judge of Andhra Pradesh High Court, so the panel will consist of a retired Chief Justice of the Andhra Pradesh High Court and 2 judges of the same Andhra Pradesh High Court. So the 2 judges of the same Andhra Pradesh High Court will scrutinize the complaint against another judge of the same Andhra Pradesh High Court. So this will not ensure objectivity and impartiality. So the Parliamentary Standing Committee said that at least with respect to a complaint against a judge of High Court, at least with respect to a complaint against a judge of the High Court, instead of the 2 sitting judges of the same High Court, let the 2 judges of the other High Court do the scrutiny, so that there will be some objectivity. This is one recommendation made by the Parliamentary Standing Committee. The second recommendation made by the Parliamentary Standing Committee is, as of now, this recommendation relates to the composition of the National Judicial Oversight Committee. Who are represented in the National Judicial Oversight Committee as of now? Retired Chief Justice of Supreme Court, 1 Judge of Supreme Court, 1 sitting Judge of Supreme Court, 1 Chief Justice of High Court, Attorney General, an eminent citizen. So here in the National Judicial Oversight Committee, the judiciary is represented, the executive is represented, and the civil society is represented, but the legislature is not represented. So the Parliamentary Standing Committee recommended that let there be representation even to the Parliament, so that it will be much more broad-based. So if there are members from executive branch, legislative branch and judicial branch along with civil society, a broad-based committee will be in a better position to ensure independent and efficient and effective and transparent investigation of the complaint. So this is the recommendation made by the Parliamentary Standing Committee. With respect to the composition of National Judicial Oversight Committee, as of now, there is no representation to the legislative branch of government, that is the Parliament. Parliamentary Standing Committee recommended that broad-base the composition of the National Judicial Oversight Committee by giving representation to the legislative branch, that is the Parliament. And if we take the composition of the complaints scrutiny panel, who are there in the complaints scrutiny panel? All are judges. If it is a scrutiny panel at the level of Supreme Court, who will be there? 1 retired Chief Justice of Supreme Court and 2 sitting judges of the Supreme Court. That's it. No representation to the other people. All judiciary. And the scrutiny panel at the level of High Court will consist of a retired Chief Justice of High Court and 2 sitting judges of the same High Court. Here also the representation is only to the judiciary. The Parliamentary Standing Committee made a recommendation saying that along with the judiciary, let there be representation to the non-judicial bodies, so that the panel will be broad-based and the scrutiny will be much better done. But I don't think that this will stand before the scrutiny of the Supreme Court, because if you allow the members who do not belong to the judiciary to be part of the complaint scrutiny panel, the Supreme Court may have an objection saying that if the non-judicial members do the scrutiny of complaint against the Judge of High Court and Supreme Court, that will amount to encroachment into the independence of the judiciary. So on that ground, that may be challenged in the Supreme Court, and the legislation itself may be declared as null and void. But the Parliamentary Standing Committee recommended saying that even in the complaints scrutiny panel, give representation to the non-judicial bodies, so that it will be much more broad-based and the scrutiny will be much more effective. This is the view of the Parliamentary Standing Committee. Whether it will stand before the judicial scrutiny, that is another matter. And then the other thing is the definition of the judicial standards. I told you that the judicial standards and accountability bill will lay down the judicial standards. So when these judicial standards were defined, the Parliamentary Standing Committee said that have a wider definition. I told you that in May 1997, the full court of Supreme Court came up with the code of conduct for the judiciary. As of now, we have incorporated all those in the bill, but the best practices at the international level relating to the judicial standards, they were not part of the bill. So here the recommendation of the Parliamentary Standing Committee is, keeping the international practice in mind, try to make the definition of judicial standards much more comprehensive. And apart from this, the Parliamentary Standing Committee also requested that these judicial standards have to be reviewed periodically to make them much more relevant. This is one more recommendation. And along with this one, Supreme Court in majority of the situations when it gave its judgments, it made unwarranted criticism on the other branches of the government. That is, it has involved itself in the criticism of the executive branch of government and the legislative branch of government. So here the Parliamentary Standing Committee gave an opinion saying that this is not good for democracy. In any democracy, fine balance and a dynamic equilibrium between all the three wings of the government, they are very much required to sustain the democracy. That is, the executive branch of government, legislative branch of government and the judicial branch of government, they should restrain themselves in such a way that there are checks and balances so that one will not become supreme compared to the other branches. But the Supreme Court, when it made announcements or judgments with respect to some cases like a Vishaka judgment, in Vishaka judgment that relates to sexual harassment at workplace, when Supreme Court came up with the guidelines for preventing sexual harassment at workplace, it has passed a unwarranted criticism on the part of the executive branch and legislative branch. It said that we were compelled to pass these guidelines because there is inaction on the part of the legislative branch and executive branch. This may be true, but you should not make negative comments on the other branches of the government. If this is made, the coordinated and congenial positive atmosphere between different branches of the government that may get affected, that may undermine the stability and the balance between the three branches of the government. So the Parliamentary Standing Committee recommended that include a provision in the same Judicial Standards and Accountability Bill so as to ensure that the judiciary should restrain itself from making unwarranted criticism against the other branches of the government. This is one thing. And then I told you that the Judicial Standards and Accountability Bill has got the provision for declaring the assets and liabilities of the judge, his spouse, and the dependent children. So the Parliamentary Standing Committee with respect to assets and liabilities recommended that let there be a procedure to scrutinize the assets and liabilities. What is the fun in having the assets and liabilities displayed in the website if you don't scrutinize those assets and liabilities? You need to investigate them, whether the declaration made by the concerned judge relating to assets and liabilities, whether it is true or not. So the Parliamentary Standing Committee recommended that let there be some procedure or some mechanism to scrutinize the assets and liabilities declared by the Judge of Supreme Court and High Court. Then, when I discussed about the provisions of the Judicial Standards and Accountability Bill, I said that the complaints are confidential. They will not be revealed to the public. So if a complaint is not revealed to the public, then there is no need to give severe punishment for false or frivolous complaint. Got the point? So in the Judicial Standards and Accountability Bill, for a false complaint made by the citizen, the punishment is 5 years imprisonment and a fine which extends to 5 lakh rupees. This is very high and it will deter the citizens. It will create fear on the part of the citizens to make a complaint on the misbehavior and incapacity of the Judge of High Court and Supreme Court. So the original intent and objective of the bill itself will be defeated if the imprisonment, if the punishment, if the penalty is so much. So the Parliamentary Standing Committee said that bring down the punishment awarded to false or frivolous complaint from the present 5 years and also bring down the penalty, that is fine. And apart from that, it also said that in the Indian Penal Code there is a provision. If a complaint is made in good faith, when will you call a complaint as false or frivolous complaint? When there is no sufficient evidence. So mere inability on the part of the citizen not to substantiate his complaint should not invite punishment. So the Parliamentary Standing Committee recommended that any complaint made in good faith, even if it cannot be substantiated, such complaints cannot be given punishment and penalty. This is one recommendation made by the Parliamentary Standing Committee. And apart from that, there is a danger that the media may disclose the information relating to the complaints which are pending before the National Judicial Oversight Committee. So this may affect the independence of the judiciary, because even before the guilt is proved, even before the misbehavior is proved, if any complaint or allegation of corruption against a judge of High Court and Supreme Court pending before the National Judicial Oversight Committee comes into the public domain, he will be defamed and subsequently if he is proved innocent, but to that extent the damage is already done. So if this happens, the credibility of the judiciary and the ability of the judiciary and the independence of the judiciary and the efficiency of the judiciary may get affected. So here the recommendation made by the Parliamentary Standing Committee is ensure that the media does not disclose the information relating to the complaint against misbehavior or incapacity of the Judge of High Court and Supreme Court which is pending before the National Judicial Oversight Committee. So in the previous discussion I told you that a person who is associated with the investigation committee, he is not expected to disclose any information relating to the complaint against a Judge of Supreme Court and High Court. If he does it, he is liable for 1 month imprisonment along with fine. Similarly, along with the persons associated with the investigation committee, even the media should restrain itself from disclosing the information relating to the complaint against a Judge of High Court and Supreme Court. This is one thing. And this is what the Parliamentary Standing Committee has recommended. And finally, we can conclude the topic saying like this. See, if right people get into the system as judges of High Court and Supreme Court, we don't have a need to remove them. Got the point? The present procedure of appointment of judges of High Court and Supreme Court, it is not transparent. It is not accountable. Out of 800 judges in the High Court, 275 are vacant. The present collegium system of appointment of judges, it is not able to bring in the best and the brightest people into the system. And apart from that, there is an inordinate delay, excessive delay in making appointments to the judiciary. So this is the problem with the present appointment system. So the bill will have limitations if we don't address the problems relating to the appointment of judges of High Court and Supreme Court. We should ensure that the present defective procedure relating to appointment of judges of High Court and Supreme Court, if it is not corrected, the present judicial standards and accountability bill, it will be very much limited in addressing the corruption relating to the judiciary. So the Government of India has come up with another important bill which is pending with Parliament by name Judicial Appointments Commission, which will ensure a transparent and accountable procedure for the appointment of judges of High Court and Supreme Court. If that is passed by the Parliament, and this Judicial Appointments Commission along with the Judicial Standards and Accountability Bill together will go a long way in ensuring transparency and accountability on the part of higher judiciary and along with fighting the corruption within the judiciary. So here my submission is, the Judicial Standards and Accountability Bill in isolation cannot deal with the corruption in judiciary. We also need to make a frontal attack on the defective procedure relating to the appointment of judges of High Court and Supreme Court. We should ensure that the right people get into the system. If this is done, we don't need to have the Judicial Standards and Accountability Bill. This assumes importance because the ex-Chief Justices of India like J.S. Verma, M.N. Venkatachalaya and V.R. Krishnaiyer, they themselves admitted saying that the present collegium system of appointment, it is not ensuring the right people, the best people with the best legal knowledge, somehow they are not becoming the judges of High Court and Supreme Court. So the present system is dictated by lobbying, caste considerations, class considerations. So in this scenario, instead of the bright people getting into the system, the people who don't deserve, they are getting into the system. If we don't correct this problem, the Judicial Standards and Accountability Bill will have its own limitations. So this is with respect to Judicial Standards and Accountability Bill.